All right, so this is another bad movie review. This is going to be on The Legend of Hercules. It's kind of nostalgic for me because I reviewed this back when it first came out. It was one of the first, I believe it was one of the first reviews I'd ever done. Uh, I thought it was bad then. I think it's bad now. But yeah, it is something where I'm like, wow, I do remember watching this and doing my review on it all those years ago when I had like just started. That was my old channel. You can't even find that review anymore anywhere. It's not even on my SoundCloud. So it is a little bit nostalgic. This movie's dog shit though. Let's be honest about it. It's directed by Rennie Harlan, King Amphitryon, played by Scott Adkins, who is not good in this movie. We'll get back to that. One of the people that's not good in this movie. There's a lot of bad acting in this. He's taking over Argos from that king, and they have their little fight or whatever. It's not a good fight because the action and choreography is bad in this movie. But he takes it over, and then he has an argument with the Queen Alcmene, played by Roxanne McGee, and she doesn't agree with him taking over these other places and thinks he's tyrannical, things like that. But she seems calm when she's talking to him, at least. Then right after that, she goes to a statue. I think it's Hera statue, and just breaks it down. Right? She wants something to happen, something to liberate the people from his tyranny. She's granted her wish, I guess. Hera is going to permit Zeus to impregnate her with what will be the savior of that kingdom, and to overthrow that king, which would be Hercules. So 20 years go by. Hercules is grown up now, played by Kellen Lutz, who was also not good in this movie. We'll get back to that. Him and Hebe, the Princess of Crete, played by Gaia Weiss. I think that's how you say her name. I don't know. They have a romance with no chemistry whatsoever, and she gives him her necklace and things like that, which he holds on to. It's important to him. And then the brother comes up, that is Iphicles, played by Liam Garrigan, and he's jealous of him because he's strong, he's powerful and everything. Even though Iphicles is the older brother, that was the son that they already had, the king and queen. So he and Hercules go off and they fight a lion. Well, Hercules fights the lion, and he barehanded and takes him out with almost no problem. But then the brother tries to take credit for it and shits on him and everything like that. So at the ceremony, it's announced that Hebe will marry Iphicles to bring peace between Crete and I think it's Tiryns. I think it's what it's called. I think that's what their kingdom was called. And obviously Hercules and Hebe don't like that, so they're going to run away, but they get caught. So then Hercules is sent into war, but he's sent with this group that the king had already arranged for them to be killed off by this other, these other people in this other place in Heliopolis. He made sure there weren't that many troops and things like that. It's led by Sotiris, played by Liam McIntyre. He wanted more troops, but the king wouldn't, give him any because obviously he was setting them up. So they get there, they fight. Hercules and Sotiris are the only ones that survive. So they end up getting sold, and they participate in these mud fights. And once again, the choreography isn't very great. There's way too much slow-mo. We'll talk more about that. But they win, so then they convince the person that bought them to let them go to Greece and participate in this other fight that will earn them their freedom and earn him some silver or gold or whatever. But they have to fight these other two people in order to be able to go and participate in that. So they fight those two. They win, but Sotiris gets... Sotiris, he gets hurt. So then Hercules has to fight those 6 people in that arena for his freedom and Sotiris' freedom by himself. And he's like, oh, it's going to be a suicide mission, whatever, but Hercules ends up winning. Ends up winning a little too easy anyway. So he gets his freedom, and then he decides that he's going to rally the people together to go against the king. So he frees some people, gets in some fights with some people in their villages, because the people have already started to turn against the king as a result of what happened with that group of warriors that he pretty much set up. I guess the people became wise to that. So Tyrus, he's threatened, or his son is threatened, so he ends up giving up Hercules, and so Hercules ends up getting imprisoned or gets chained up and that's when he realizes that he actually is the son of Zeus. He rips the pillars down. He starts swinging them around. It's ridiculous. And at that point, he gets the people together to finally go after the king, and they have their final confrontation with each other, which is, once again, badly choreographed, bad slow-mo, all that. And then that's pretty much it. Positives. The actor that plays Sotiris, Liam McIntyre, I think he's the best actor in this, to the point where there were emotional moments like that moment with his son before he gives up Hercules and things like that, that I did enjoy. I did like it. I remembered that he had died, but I guess he didn't. So I remember that wrong. But he was definitely the best actor in the movie. And half positive, half negative, I guess. The costume design, for the most part, looks good. And at other parts, it looks really cheap. Like they're just wearing cheap costumes. Like with the brother, definitely so. That's all the positives I have. Whoa, this is something. The story is rushed and underdeveloped. Just kind of feels thrown out there. You don't care about much of the characters and things like that. If I'm not laughing about how bad the movie is, I'm bored for most of it. I have a headache now, and I need to go lay down or something after this, after watching it, because I just couldn't wait for it to be over at a certain point. I mean, it's terrible in so many ways. One of the main things that's bad, though, is our lead, Kellen Lutz, who is from the Twilight movies. He was bad there. Pretty much everybody's bad there. and he's bad here, too. There's this romance that's the main thing, right? He wants to get back to her. That's all he cares about. He's willing to die to get back to her. I mean, that's the main, motivation that he has. Not even really overthrowing the king. He just wants to be with Hebe. And the romance is not good. It's Attack of the Clones type thing where we're doing almost Shakespearean or wannabe Shakespearean dialogue, and it's not working. There's no chemistry. And, the actress that plays Hebe, she's trying, but she is acting against a block of wood.
It's only stone. But I wish it were gold. I wish there were substance finer than that, if you remember me by.
There is.
I mean, the dude is just so bad throughout the whole thing. I mean, he does not emote almost at all. You maybe get a little bit of a smirk out of him from time to time, but for the most part, his face doesn't really move all that much. He'll get really dramatic news or something big will happen, and his face will not change. His line delivery is really awkward. He's kind of stiff. I mean, the dude is just, he's bad pretty much throughout the whole thing.
I swear upon my love for you, you are Hercules, gift of Hera, son of Zeus.
Charon,
My prince,
has my mother spoken of this to anyone?
no, I assure you, no one.
Because the king is a jealous man, and most likely believe this mad talk.
But not just him. Most of the performances aren't great. I chalk it up to direction for most of them. But this king, played by Scott Adkins, he's also really bad. I think that is direction, too. I think that he was directed to be like this, where he talks like this with everything. He's talking to Iphicles. I want you to be a man. You're the future king. I need you to be a man. He's talking like that with pretty much every line, unless he's yelling. And it's just awkward, and it just doesn't work at all. And, even from like the very beginning, he's bad pretty much throughout. Him and Kellen Lutz, they're really bad.
What say you, most brave and merciful king of tyrants? Will you spare these men?
Imitation! The highest form of flattery. Accept your destiny! I already rule it all, my son.
I'm not your son, you wandering coward!
Acting aside, the movie is shot badly. It looks pretty bad. The effects are terrible for most of it. If they're not in the woods, where they're just kind of in the woods on horses or whatever, it just looks so fake. The kingdom looks fake in these establishing shots. The sky, the clouds always looks really fake. But especially whenever they're on a boat, on the water, oh my God, that doesn't even slightly look real. I mean, it's embarrassing. When he fights the lion, that doesn't look real at all either. And, you know, it's very obviously a CGI lion. You know, most of this just doesn't look that great. The choreography for the fight scenes is awful. You know, it's not a rated R movie. I believe it's PG-13. Yeah, so he'll cut someone, and it's obvious that that wasn't a cut. He just hit somebody with a sword, pretty much, is how it felt like. It takes you out of it. There's a lot of flipping around and moving around and things, and obviously all this slow-mo, and it's never cool, it's never exciting, it always just looks kind of lame. Two moments that were really bad that I couldn't help but laugh at. So there's the thing when, you know, he gets the power of Zeus and he rips, you know, he's on the chains and he rips from those pillars and he starts swinging them around. I think there's slow-mo with pretty much every swing. You know, he thinks he's Kratos from God of War, swinging around those chains, and it's just so stupid looking. It was ridiculous. I was like, really, slow-mo with just about every swing like this? I mean, come on. And then there's the point at the very end where he puts up the sword and he gets the lightning from Zeus, and he starts swinging it around at all these warriors because they're outnumbered at that point. And once again, it looks completely ridiculous, and you know the lightning looks fake, and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. None of the action works. At least if the action would have been you know good or exciting, you could go along with some of it on a superficial level, but you can't with this shit. You know, as bad as the story is, at least get the action right, and they didn't. I mean, it really does feel like we're just kind of going through the motions, right? We need this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. Doesn't matter whether we actually, you know, fully develop things. You know, he doesn't spend that much time fighting his way back home. By the time he gets back to Hebe, I'm thinking, has it even been that much time, you know? He doesn't look different in any way to where he would come back and people wouldn't recognize him at first or something. I mean, it just feels like he was gone for a matter of days. I mean, I don't know how long he was gone, but it feels like you would have him gone for a while and he'd be fighting his way back. But you don't really get that. So they spend so little time on the arena. I mean, when he does fight those 6 people for his freedom, and they're like, oh, that's a suicide mission, you're gonna fight alone? No, we can't do this. He gets in there and he just completely wipes the floor with them. They stood no chance. Well, he was struggling in the mud pit kind of, and with the other 2 guys to get to that fight. But now that he's fighting by himself against 6 people, he's just wiping the floor with them with no effort. I mean, this is supposed to be a big moment of the movie of him, you know, proving himself and making a name for himself to come home, and you don't really get that, you know. Hey, I just didn't care. I was really bored after that fight in the arena, where he, you know, you don't really get to see him doing that much, saving the villagers and rallying the people. You don't really get much of that anyway. It's just like, all right, hurry up and get some people together, go fight the king, and let's be done with this shit, you know. So I'm bored as hell moving towards that climax, and then you get there and it's so horrendous. I mean, it is horrible because of how bad Kellen Lutz and this dude Scott Adkins are. I mean, when it's just them and they're about to fight and they're talking to each other, it's one of the worst scenes of the movie. Because they are so awkward, and their performances are just they're horrible.
Have you come to bring the wrath of Zeus upon me, boy?
No! I come to you as a mortal. To bring the wrath of Alcides upon the tyrants who killed my mother.
Come at me, boy, and learn why I am the Slayer of Kings!
The fight isn't that great either. This is the final fight. This is the climactic fight between this king and, you know, and Hercules, and once again, it's just ridiculous slow-mo. They had to know that the choreography wasn't that good, and that's why they were really killing it with the slow-mo. We need slow-mo, you know, with almost every hit. You know, he has to jump up and swing around and things like that. Then there's a bunch of slow-mo, and it just looks really lame. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. I didn't enjoy any of the fights. I didn't care that much for any of the characters other than probably Sotiris, and I got a headache watching this. I could not wait for this to be over. And then by the time it's over, it's like, okay, whatever, I don't care. There's the moment where Hebe stabs herself, and she didn't even die, too. Like, somehow she survived, but whatever. She stabs herself, it goes through her and kills the brother behind her. Somehow he died and she didn't. Okay, whatever. I guess she got medical attention and he didn't, I guess. But she still stabbed herself dead. But anyway, they do it in with slow-mo with her falling down to her death. to the point where, the slow-mo there's been so much slow-mo, it actually made me laugh. I just watched the love interest of the movie, the person that he's been trying to get to and be with this whole time, kill herself or, attempt to kill herself. And I'm laughing because it's just, I don't care to that level. And then you have all this fucking slow-mo with it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. It's Legend of Hercules. Everybody knows this movie sucks ass, right? The story is terrible. It's not even a good-looking movie. The fight scenes are lame. And there's just so much ridiculous, stupid-ass slow-mo. And I couldn't with this. I think this is atrocious. And yeah, this is getting my lowest rating. I'm giving it complete shit, right? It doesn't even rise to the level of being trash. Like, this is completely worthless. I feel like I barely even watched the movie just now. It is on the level of a high school play at times, where it just looks so cheap and bad, and all the acting is bad. And at certain points, the costume design looks fucking cheap, like they just grabbed it from somewhere and threw it on. It's awful. But anyway, yeah, that's The Legend of Hercules. I'm gonna go lay down. And yeah, we're done.